الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. فإذا جاءت الطامة الكبرى يوم يتذكر الإنسان ما سعى وبرزت الجحيم لمن يرى فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها فيما أنت من ذكراها إلى ربك منتهاها إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي ينقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام وإليك يعود السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, after the Sunnah Salah, we will be having the dhikr program. We request all to participate, inshallah. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله وقال تعالى إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم صدق الله مولانا العظيم. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We all have areas of our lives where we would like to improve ourselves, better ourselves, adopt new habits, and leave out bad habits. It may be in terms of our salah, recitation of the Noble Quran, making dhikr, reading useful books. That is in terms of our religion. And in terms of our own, physical wellness, eating, physical fitness, there are habits that we'd like to adopt and there are habits that we'd like to leave. And research shows that you will never be successful until you do certain things on a daily basis that contribute to that success. Because as human beings, we are creatures of our habits. Good habits are difficult to establish, but they make your life easy. Bad habits are easy to establish, but they make your life difficult. When you want to establish something good, it takes a lot of effort, but then eventually it makes your life easy. Bad habits, it takes a moment, and then you're stuck with the bad habit for the rest of your life. And bad habits are really, it's the craving of the nafs. And we all have our own bad habits that we are accustomed to. There was once a man who was standing at a taxi rank and he was about to take a taxi. And a beggar came to him and said, "Give me something." So he was ignoring the beggar, but the beggar was a professional, so he insisted, "Help me, assist me." So eventually, the person waiting for the taxi said, "Okay, what will you do with the money if I give you some money?" So he said, "I'll buy a cup of tea." So he said, "I don't have any money to give you, but here's a cigarette. Why don't you take a cigarette?" So he says, "No." The beggar says, "No, I don't smoke. It's bad for the health. It's bad for your lungs." So he's surprised. So he says, "Okay, you don't smoke, but here's some whiskey. Why don't you have some of this? It's good stuff." So he says, "No, I don't drink. It muddles the mind and it's bad for the liver." So he says, "I'm taking a taxi." The man who's waiting for the taxi, "I'm taking a taxi and I'm going to the racetrack to watch some horse races, and I can arrange for us tickets. If you come along with me and we bet on a horse and we win, you can take it all. So come with me." So the beggar says, "No, I don't gamble. Gambling is a bad habit, so I won't come with you." So the man says, "You know what? I want you to come home with me." So the beggar, his face lights up with anticipation as to what he's going to get now. This man is very impressed with me and the answers that I gave. Maybe he's going to give me a special gift when he come home. But then he says, "Let me clarify." So he says that, "Okay, I'll come with you home, but tell me, why do you want me to come home with you?" He says, "No, I want to show my wife what does a man look like who doesn't have any bad habits." So we all have our own bad habits. Some are visible, some are private, some others don't know about. We all know what it is. And we need to continuously work towards removing those habits. And as we said, habits come from our nafs. Our nafs craves instant gratification, immediate pleasure now. And what the opposite of training the nafs is to delay gratification, to be able to wait, to exercise patience. So recently I read this book, which is, the title of the book is The Power of Habit. And they said that once you understand the cycle of a habit, you'll be able to adopt new habits and build new habits. And habits are basically controlled by the basal ganglia, which is the part of the brain which is where the spinal cord and the lower part of the brain meet. And habits are essentially a repetitive pattern of behavior. It makes our life easy in certain ways that you don't have to continue thinking all the time. You go into autopilot mode.
So with regards to the basal ganglia, there was a study by a university in the United States of America, cognitive and brain studies. And they found that the basal ganglia governs repetitive patterns in our behavior. And they found that those animals where the basal ganglia was injured or removed, they were unable to do certain tasks. So the rats were put in a maze. And when the basal ganglia was removed or injured, the rat wasn't able to get its way out of the maze, when normally it was able to get its way out of the maze. So what does the basal ganglia do? Basically, when you get into the car to come home, now you've driven that path hundreds of times. You don't have to think. You can think about everything and anything, and you'll get home, and someone will ask you, you know what, how many red robots did you pass on the way? He says, I don't know. Because it's just routine. The basal ganglia takes over. Sometimes the wife will phone or the sister will phone and say, you must buy bread. And you drive home and you come in the garage and say, where's the bread? I forgot. The reason is that the moment you get in the car, that the autopilot, the basal ganglia takes over, so you're in your routine. So therefore you're not thinking. And that is why you forget it. So the next time, you forget the bread, say that Mufti told me it's the basal ganglia that made me forget. I got a good excuse. So that is why, that's the role of the basal ganglia. Now when you understand how you can crack into that, basically a habit is formed through three things. There's a cue, there's a response, and then there's a reward. So when you see a certain cue, then you act in a particular manner. And the reason why you act in that manner is the reward that you want. And that is how. So the cue is something, a trigger in our environment. And we're very, susceptible to our environment. So when there's things in our environment that stimulate us, that trigger us, we respond to that. Then the behavior is what you actually do. The action that you take as a result of that cue. And the reward is the feeling that you get after having carried out that habit. So if you develop the habit that when I enter the home, I go into the fridge. So the cue is entering the home. The next thing is you open the fridge, which is the habit. And the reward that you will experience is the rush of the sugary drink that you're drinking. So that is the habit loop that we have. Now, you can then develop a cue and behavior based on that. Meaning, if you want to read more useful material at night, so reading, you need a book. So you make the cue of the book more visible. Put the book on your pillow. So when you come in the room, when you see the pillow, the book, it will then, you'll get the cue, and that will be the cue to then read, and you get the reward, being enlightened. When you read, your mind develops, your thinking develops, you have a better understanding of the world, and it's fulfilling in its own way. So that is the process that happens. If you want to start training for a marathon, put your tackies in a place where you can see it. The moment you see it at the time, you reduce the friction in you going to have to carry out that. And the reward is perhaps that you'll get the runner's high as you're running the marathon. So similarly, for me, I wanted to add reciting the 40 durood into my daily routine. So I have the habit of reciting Quran for a few minutes after the Fajr Salah. So now the easy thing is to do is to take the 40 durood kitab and put it next to my Quran. After Fajr, now when I recite the Quran, I see the kitab there, the cue is there, and that will lead me to the habit. And the reward is obviously that feeling of peace and tranquility that a person gets when he recites the 40 duroods. He's connecting with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's taking that blessings into his day, and obviously the benefit will be there. So this is what the author says is the habit loop. That if you can identify what habit is it that you want to inculcate, you create a cue from it. The cue will lead you to the behavior, and there's a certain type of reward that you'll feel as a result of that. And then he adds one more thing, and he says the craving. After the cue, you'll start craving. Like when you walk in the home, you crave that sugar rush because you're accustomed to it. And the interesting thing is that the craving is so powerful that the level of dopamine that happiness hormone that is released in the brain through the cravings, the same that you get through the actual action. And therefore, those who are addicted to drugs and things, that craving is so powerful that it drives them, to do whatever they do. So once we understand this habit loop, we are able to inculcate greater habits. Allah Rabbul Izzah says in the verse of the Noble Quran, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will not change your condition until you change your condition in your own. And then the author also speaks about what is keystone habits. When you have a pillar and the center point of the pillar, the arch area, it's called the keystone. So that is what keeps the whole pillar together. So in our lives, there are certain habits which are the keystone habits. And that is what we can build our habits on that. So basically for us as mu'mineen, Allah has granted us our 5 daily salah. And we can build habits on that. There's a English saying that says, salah is not sometime or part-time or no time. Salah is full-time, on time. And if you can, do extra time because death can come anytime. So salah is our whole structure of our day. It starts off with Fajr, ends off with Isha Salah. When you decide that, I want to inculcate a certain habit, then by doing it with a keystone habit that you have in your life, it becomes easier. So just say you want to inculcate Ishraq Salah. Now you know that you take a shower every morning. If you attach that Ishraq to the shower that you take and you make to Tahiyatul Wudu, then it becomes easy to build that habit. But if you decide, mid-morning, I'll do it. You at your office, you at work, where you're going to perform your wudu, where you're going to perform the salah, it becomes difficult. The friction in fulfilling that is too much. And therefore you're not able to maintain that habit. So the less friction there is between you, the cue, the response, and that becomes easier to establish such a habit. May Allah Rabbul Izzah give us the ability to establish good habits and to remove bad habits from our lives. The dhikr of Allah undoubtedly is such a thing that assists us in every aspect of our deen and improving ourselves so that we become better versions of ourselves. May Allah Rabbul Izzah give us the ability. We begin with the dhikr of La ilaha illallah, that kalima that will outweigh 99 ledgers of evil deeds on the day of Qiyamah. In the hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afdalu dhikr," the best of dhikr is La ilaha illallah. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل الذكر لا إله إلا الله 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 محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now we take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many of our pious predecessors, when they would take the name of Allah, they would literally perceive the sweetness of the name of Allah on their tongues. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us that sweetness. Allah, 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 la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم، هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل حول من الأحوال مقتحم. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله، اللهم لا أحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. اللهم صل على محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون، وصل على محمد كلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. اللهم صل على محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها. اللهم صل على روح محمد في الأرواح، وعلى جسد محمد في الأجساد، وعلى قبر محمد في القبور. اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان، اللهم انصر المسلمين في غزة، اللهم انصر المسلمين في رفح، اللهم انصر المسلمين، اللهم أيدهم بروح القدس، اللهم أيدهم بروح القدس. اللهم عليك باليهود، عليك بالإسرائيليين. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير كله ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر كل ما استعاذك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.